So next up, we have our circuitry in human design, our little introduction to circuitry. We're starting to get a little bit deeper than, strategy and authority and profile. And so let's keep going.
Circuitry in the human design, I can't wait till we get into this because I keynote the circuitry so much. I lean on this for reading a design. You could show one gate, and go to a person and it's just like, I'm only telling you I got this one gate and this one line. And someone says, I'm not showing you my design. I just this. From that one gate, just through the circuitry, Shazam, you can tell that person so much. So I can't wait to get into this because circuitry is both blood, right, sifting through, and it's also like the pulling together. It is the tree of life in a way. The circuitry represents the tree of life aspect, touching all the chakras, bringing forth all the information, and it's gorgeous. We need it.
Perfect. So diving right on into our circuitry presentation, circuitry is how energy circulates through the channels in the body graph, right? This is what we're talking about. If you imagine the body graph is like an electrical circuit, right? There's all these little wires and it's trying to make it out to the throat, right? We have the pressure coming in from the head and the root. That's where stuff's coming in, and then it's going to go up all those little circuits, and it's like you can imagine like a little light bulb on the throat that wants to like light up and manifest and create into the world. And so by understanding circuitry, we can understand the flow of the life force. And it reveals how all life forms are differentiated, yet also designed to be connected, which is really cool.
Entirely, yeah. And so how this energy flows is we're always said, like in the last segment, this is an imprinting. It's like a blueprint. And then we hone it down here to say it's also like a circuit board. So you see the whole thing. And then it's not that hard to realize, oh, there's circuitry within the circuit board. And the thing is, the keynotes that go with this and the meanings that go with this are really easy to describe to the person because they always know it. As soon as you start describing it, they go, and the head starts moving. But the keynotes are actually simple, but they're profound. It's a guarantee it's there. And so it's worth like you getting to understand what this is doing for you.
Really beautiful. It's going to be really fun to dive into this. So again, here we have like a glossary of terms that we're going to get into. So gates are the entry and exit points where energy flows to and from the centers. So like on our graphic below, the gates, it's all the numbers, right? It's the 50, it's the 44, the 57, the 48, the 27, the 34, all the little numbers, the individual numbers on a body graph, those are all gates. Then we have channels. So a channel is two gates connecting two centers. So on our graphic below, it's the 50 and the 27. So you have the gate 50 and gate 27 link up and they make the channel 5027. Then centers, they're hubs for transforming and transmuting the frequency. So below the centers, it's the spleen and the sacral. And then finally, we have the circuits, which are composed of channels. So that's when you have multiple channels connected and make a circuit. So that's like the order from smallest to biggest.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I love this ordering. So a gate, we also sometimes call an activation. When you hear someone say this gate is activated, then that's saying what Moni just said about that. And the gates tell so much story. The gates are the I Ching. And then when they finally come together, the synthesis takes place and a life force gets created. The channel is a life force. And it's not like a Jedi lightsaber force, it's your life force. And once you come to know what it is, you see, oh my God, this moves me, this life force of mine. And it's that thing that's always on. That's why we call it a life force. It is always on. Unless you're the reflector, the life force shifts, but it's still there. There's always life force. The life force never stops. And then when you get to the centers, this transforming this frequency, it transforms literally what the life force is empowered by doing and its purpose. And that helps hone in what finally comes to the circuitry, which is named the circuitry. This channel would be in the tribal defense circuit. And that alone tells us so much stuff about what we can say about this channel. It's a channel designed to be caring. It's a channel of, what is this channel? Nurturing. This is the channel of nurturing and coming with values that guarantees the children stay alive, essentially. a deep, deep intuition that guarantees tribe survive. Now, when I start talking to someone with this gate in them, they have to care. They have values. It's constantly being looked at. It's a splenic thing happening quickly. And as I start keynoting, I'm doing it now, and I need to stop. But when I start doing that with you, you'll see, oh my God, this is important. Life force and the circuitry matters because this channel needs to support things. It's very supportive or not. That's its shtick.
Yeah, I like to really think of it as like as electrical wiring. There's electricity, right? So where you have electricity moving through your chart, like that's what we're looking at is the spark of life that is coming through you and how it connects with other people and how it makes its way out into the world. Like I love human design. It's so beautiful.
It's so gorgeous.
All right. So moving on, first up, because we're doing just like an overview of the 4 main circuits that we're going to be looking at. We're going to go in more deeper in the coming weeks, and it's going to be really good. But this is going to be like your 101 overview. So first off, we have the channel of integration. It's kind of funny because the rest are circuits, and this is these integration channels. Just roll with it and don't think about it too much. For integration, the keynote is self-empowerment. And so this whole circuit is self-preservation. It is the backbone structure of the body graph. It almost even like if you look at our graphic on the right in the green, it almost looks like a backbone. Like it's really like it's tucked away in there. It's like it's very foundational and is the key defense mechanism of the form, ensuring the survival of all of the other 3 circuit groups that are coming after this. So this is like your core. And it's about the empowerment of the individual nature, expression, knowing, direction, identity, and the behavior of self. And ultimately, it's a self-absorbed drive to survive as a unique and undifferentiated individual.
We want to be unique and differentiated. It's so, so profound in everybody, and everybody wants to be their unique self. And that whole self-absorbed drive that is inside of these integration channels. By the way, they call it integration channels because it can't be a circuit, because when we get to the other circuitry, you'll see it, part of it occupies the exact same space. So it just didn't make sense to come up with 2 different circuitry again. Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, that's really cool. I just learned that right now. Thank you. So what Danny's saying is when we see the other ones, it's like it'll go from like the root to like the spleen up to like the throat, and it's like crossing through multiple centers. The integration, it's all connected within these 4. It's not crossing over a center to make it to another center. That's so cool. I was really wondering. I was like,
yeah, and they have to remain channels because it's hard to call it a circuit when there's already another circuit that occupies the exact same space.
Yeah,
the exact same space, and it moves all in the same directions and so forth. Yep.
That is so cool. I was making these slides and I was like, why is it called an integration channel and the other ones are circuits? And I couldn't really find it. So I was like, whatever, moving on. So I'm really glad
you did it, because the knee-jerk reaction is to call it circuitry still, because it's sort of a circuit. I mean, it's stuff and it acts like circuitry a little bit.
Well,
Integration
category, yeah.
Yeah, it acts like circuitry in a way because it is life force. It's doing stuff for you. But the keynote for it, the self-empowerment, is very self-absorbed. There's a thing in human design, as soon as gate 10 is connected to gate 34, it is now looking at its own centering behavior, period. This, because of that, just that one fact, this stuff is centering in on its own behavior, and suddenly it becomes the power to survive in the now as ourself and know it and zig and zag, and sometimes it's as desperate as actual survival. Integration will keep you alive in those things that are profoundly like, oh my God, I could have been killed. And then all the rest of the time, this integration is always there. It looks a little self-absorbed. If someone only has integration definition, you might wonder, it seems a little self-absorbed. You got to let them be.
Yeah.
It's just a thing.
Very cool.
And it is self-empowerment, self-empowered. And we need that. Without it, dude, we need our own self-empowerment, right? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's a basis. Like no one's gonna like take care of you beyond a certain point. Like unless you're like an infant, unless you're like a small child, like you need to learn to take care of yourself. Like you need to learn how to, handle your own stuff. You need to first be able to survive on your own before you're going to get into, individual expression and the tribal relationship and the collective circuitry that we're all going to get into. Like It's like step 1. Like literally you got to step 1, like hierarchy of needs type of thing is your integration has to be correct in the world or it's just chaos.
Right.
Perfect. All right. You feel good about this one?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving on, now we have the individual circuitry. And so individual circuitry is, the keynote is empowerment. So with the integration, it's self-empowerment, but with the individual, it's empowerment more broadly. So the individual circuitry is about mutation and empowerment, and it brings mutation to the tribe and the collective, and it's oriented in the present moment. Its focus is listening to the beat of its own drum. And there's a determination to follow your own direction, a drive for uniqueness, and being a living example that's inspiring and empowering to others, is like as yourself. And it awakens this latent potential in others. And its gift is recognizing mutative potential, and it has an intuitive sense of how to empower others.
Yeah, and this word mutative, just look at it as new. It's something cool, something new and unique, and very often it is mutative, meaning it will change other things, and the thing is, life doesn't like much change. You take a whole population of people and say, we're going to change it all up in your society, for instance. It's like, maybe not so much, but mutation comes along and now suddenly things get changed up. So it does a lot of work, this keynote of empowerment. The whole reason for the integration channels to self-empower the being is mainly in support of the empowered individual that wants to empower the other. All of your individual definition is deeply unique. It's deeply creative. It works in a pulse. It's so important to understand. It's there. It's not the creativity, the knowing, the whatever it is. If you got individual definition, that's why you're always like, I thought I knew, but now it's different. You know what I mean? Or I wish I wrote that down, because it's unique and mutative in the now. You can easily lose track of it. And at the same time, as soon as you're starting to realize this mutative stuff you got or something unique, as soon as you see it as unique, one of the first things that it requires the genome puts into our energy to really come up through something that now we express as an outer authority, and this is a mechanic, it's happening all the time, is I want to empower the other with it. And it becomes shared empowerment. And it's part of this whole new nine-centered form we hold on to as this individual, unique, human designed creature that we are, is its capacity to physically want to empower the other. This wasn't always in us. This was not always this way, hundreds and thousands of years ago. We have changed ourselves, and it's time to wake up to this. So let the stuff empower and deal with the fact that sometimes it annoys the tribe and the collective. You'll figure out that dance. Your strategy and authority will keep you aligned to you, and it does move to the beat of its own drum. And the second you give that up, you are now disempowered. So, no good.
Mm-hmm. Really good stuff there. I was also going to say, it's interesting looking on our graphic here with the individual circuitry, like it's like the center line of the being, right? It's the center of, if you look even like the root and the spleen and the solar plexus, it's like in that centery middle thing. And I don't know, there's just like this core unifying sense of like me in here and this core of my being, whereas like the integration had that this like backbone kind of thing where it's just like, this is my main stuff. This is like, I got to survive. I got to have this all together right here, spinal in a way. And with the individual, it's just like, yeah, it's like the core of our being from, especially that center line you can see.
If the integration is like the spine and this backbone that allows it to stand upright, the rest of the individual circuitry is the rest of the skeleton by which all the flesh would hang. And a couple interesting things, the individual circuitry is the only circuitry that touches all 9 centers. No other circuitry does that. It makes it obvious that the second interesting thing is all the other circuitries exist to get our unique creative potential out into the world. They all serve what is the master keynote when you get into tone and color and things below the line, which we won't get into, which is sound. Sound is the individual business, period. And that's why when we go through certain things, you'll see that individual circuitry. This is the thing that the consciousness field wants. I don't know. I hope that doesn't sound too esoteric or whatever, but
I mean, it's the programming. It's
the programming.
It's in our wiring. And again, like seeing our body graph and seeing the mandala and like understanding just like a little bit that my little human brain can understand, a little blip of the intricacies of this, like It does. It brings me closer to God. It brings me closer to a creator of something way bigger than us that really cares about us. To put something so beautiful together, like whatever that is, like there's something above that. It, this is holding it all together and loves us deeply, deeply to like create us and has like a plan. Like there's an organization here. It's not chaos. It's not a big nothing. It's deeply organized and so profoundly beautiful.
Mutation and our uniqueness shows up in a flash. It actually fits the description of creation itself. When we look at the word creation, you know what I mean, and define that in all the ways it fits that description.
Mm-hmm.
It is unique and it needs it's where we are a freak. It's where we become a genius. It's where we suddenly know. What do you mean? How do you know that? I didn't know that. Do you know it now? I think I know it now. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
And you ask the person, where'd that come from? It got created. So everyone who wonders if they're an aspect of the whole thing, stuff is constantly getting created in us, and it's through this individual circuitry, you know, first and foremost, that becomes empowered. And the thing about our creation now is we want to empower the other with it. Dude, let's do it this way. It's going to work out better. You may not be right, by the way, but that's what we want to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out through trial and error, all that, what we're going to need to know. But
Yeah. It's that individual pulse that of something that comes up, the new, the mutative stuff. Like I think of like artists and musicians, right? Like, like I just got this thing struck me, this idea, and I got to put it out into the world. And like you got to put it out there. And the tribe may or may not accept it. The collective may or may not accept it. And like that's the dance that we do with the circuitry. That individual, it's that artist that's bringing something new, that's putting out a new song, that is expressing in this way, that is creating something new and different and transformative.
last thing I can even think to say about it is that the individual circuitry is the only circuitry that carries, as it relates to the melancholy and the fears of the spleen and the ajna and the circuitry of the awareness centers, that carries both melancholy and an emotional wave. All three. It carries an emotional wave. It carries straight up melancholy. Melancholy is the individual process because it's unique and mutative, and there it just shows up again like the pulse. It just shows up as a sudden din and a sadness. It's not the low of the emotional wave that makes you want to bawl your eyes out. It's just din and sadness, and you can't really not in the mood. And then it's got all of that stuff. So it brings us the moments of melancholy that we need, because without it, we don't grow. And it's just a fact.
Yeah, it's just wiring.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. You ready to dive into
Mm-hmm.
our next one?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
So next up, we have tribal circuitry. And tribal, our keynote is support, right? This is family. This is community. This is like, well, your family, you got to do it. You got to take care of each other, right? So
Mm-hmm.
tribal circuitry connects us to life and each other through senses, bloodlines, and loyalty to the blood bargain. And the tribal heart is the communal heart. And this is about support. It's about having and being sensitive to people's needs, material requirements, and the need for God, for spirit in our life. Like it's just in our wiring. And it's about generating and preserving human life. And it's about the laws and the values of tribal relationships. And this is a strong communal structure that's founded on loyalty to hierarchy. And so at the tribe, it's like everyone, like you have a place in the tribe. If you're part of the tribe, you have a place in the tribe, but you better know your place. You know who the king is, you know who the queen is, and you know where you fit in that entire alignment. And if you respect that hierarchy and you help out when you got to help out, then they'll help you out when you need help. And that's what tribal circuitry is about.
And it's so worth keynoting the extra juice. The tribal circuitry is the circuitry that gets like multiple keynotes, sort of like the individual circuitry, I guess. But I mean, because it's sensitivity to support, and it's gate 19's want to support, even though want is technically the name of the stream of awareness through the individual circuitry. But um, on the emotional side, but it still is doing, it wants to be, and it's a deep, and it's part of the smell sensors, it's part of the taste senses, it's part of those lower two tones in a way, because it's got to smell it, taste it, touch it. It's part of this affection. Tribal affection is like no other, because it means I'm accepted. This is the point in which we accept in or reject the other, and that's a great big deal. The tribe makes up all of that. Collective has nothing to do with any of that. It's all social. Tribe is social with itself, and you do have to fit in, and it makes endless room for the uniqueness of the individual as long as they fit in to their little part and don't disrupt things too much because the tribe can kick you out. But its supportiveness and its designed to support is like real palpable, and it is a little bit personal, and it's okay. It's to take it because there's a practicality when the tribe is working well. The children are fed, children are made on one side and fed and cared for on the other, and this is one of our biggest things, as well as the husbandry and the animals. The tribal sensitivity is what gave us shepherding, in the way in which we could touch them and they still stuck around. They didn't try to get away after a while. This is our connection into that spirit. This is the start of the a part of this mystical way that we all know we have that ends up right now, in the now, and it must be supportive. And the thing is, it's not supportive as soon as you can start to feel it, and the tribal sensitivity to that will speak out. And it will mostly give the other a chance to correct that, because that supportiveness means the tribe can't just kick you out the first time. They got to give you a chance to correct the error, so to speak, and several chances because it's a big deal. So this is where we get glue of holding things together in this way. Throw a bunch of individuals in a room, and what's going to happen? We're all going to go in a different direction and not even be mad about it. Maybe we'll realize, oh God, we're kind of screwed. We better come together a little bit, put a whole bunch of collective people in, they're going to bicker at each other. No, it's this way. No, it's this way. Let me share my way. Let me share my way. Get a bunch of tribe together. Be like, I realize there's a bunch of ideas, but we got to at least get this done. And everyone agrees because they support the decision, even if their collective way wants to bicker about a thing or their individual way wants nothing to do with it. This tribal glue pulls us in and makes us become the tribe, or it falls us apart if we're all not self and don't know.
Mm-hmm. I like you just
Loyalty. Yeah, loyalty is a big part of tribal stuff. It's the only place I can get real loyalty is tribal
yeah.
definition.
Well, you're connected, right? It's that connection through
I
blood.
gotta touch you. I gotta be able to touch you, and I gotta be able to
Yeah.
hug you and feed you.
Yeah.
All tribal business.
Mm-hmm. I liked even when you like pulled in describing the tribe, because it's like if we look on the graphic, like that's what the graphic looks like. It is this
It does.
pulling in, it's holding it together. It's this glue, and it's this little like self system in the center that then goes out the throat. And
Yep.
even like understanding that, like it's very interesting, and yeah, it has to do with bloodlines. It's this family and this family, and they come together and they make new people, and that they share blood, and now they share resources and they protect
Yep.
one another. And relating to the senses, it's hugging and exposing the neck. It's kissing on either cheek a
Right.
couple times, and you get a
Right.
smell. Are you part of my tribe? Are you not part of my tribe? Sometimes you can get that sense about it. And yeah, touch, like you're not
The tribe
touching the
has to
collective.
touch. It
Touch
has to
is, yeah,
feel and touch.
it's
Yes.
holding a child, it's hugging one another. It's all of those really deeply beautiful things.
And it doesn't mean that the other circuitry doesn't hug the child, the individual totally empowered to be like, I want that kid next to me. But it's unique and mutative. The tribe has its sustained constant, and the collective same thing. It's like, let's share the baby for a minute, and it's cute, but it's collective. They might be onto something else. Or they might have a lot of opinions about what they should do with that baby, and the tribal people will be like, well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
But
this is ongoing survival of a community.
yep.
All
Yep.
right,
Yep.
perfect. Good on this one?
Well, one other thing, it's worth pointing out that the tribal definition connects so deeply into the spleen on the left-hand side that it basically shares splenic energy with the creating of the purpose that comes up through 28 and demands that the integration circuitry pay a little more attention. Integration circuitry won't pay attention to the collective. It'll just hear it as nagging. It won't pay attention much to the individual. It'll be like, you're weird and that's not exactly me at this moment. But the tribe can make demands, even on the integration, and reasonable ones. I mean, like, meaning they're allowed. You're allowed to do it. So
Awesome.
legitimate,
Fascinating.
legitimate demands, and pull that integration into being a little more, well, I guess there's other things here too, even though I am self-empowered first. So
Neat.
glue.
Glue. Yeah, I really like that description. All right. So finally, we have our collective circuitry. And so collective, the keynote is sharing. So this is sharing as a drive and a social obligation. It's the need to share opinions, experiences, value judgments. And the sharing is not personal. It's an inherent social orientation, and it's objective and impersonal. It's just going to share because it's got to share. And the need is for harmony and uniformity. And the focus is society and establishing the majority good for everybody, not for the individual, right? With the quote is, what is good for one is good for all.
Yep.
And as an example, right, citizens of the same country, they share the same rules, they share the same currency, the same institutions, right? It's, we all got to get through this together. And this is this kind of big overlapping aspect.
Yep.
And even like, you know, when you look at the graphic on the side, it's the outside. It's literally the outside that's like holding it together,
Yep.
you know, containing on the outside. And the collective is suspicious of the non-conforming and impetuous individual with their new and their mutations, and the kids with their crazy rock music, right?
Yeah.
And then with the collective,
Long hair.
yeah, like these new artsy kids, these hippie kids, whatever, you know, the thing is, whatever's new, it's just like, what is this? You know, what are we going to allow of this newness into the big collective? And what is like, hey, that's not great for everyone. And with the tribe, it's never trusted the primitive loyalty and the bargaining of the tribe, right? The collective is the big outside institutions. And, you know, you have the individual that's bringing in some new crazy mutative stuff. And the tribe is, they got their own little pockets.
They've
And those
got their
little pockets can
and their own
exist,
gods and their own ways
their
and their
own
own
cultures, everything,
customs
the
and
food
colors.
and the
Yeah.
smells.
And their own god. Most tribes have a form of their own, you know, higher.
I mean, yeah, you have what is going to highest orient you
Yeah.
as an individual and as like a culture and a tribe and a group. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the collective and the tribe really don't, they are quite different animals, and it just shows we need them on the planet because one's one and one's the other. The collective is moving us forward because it's constantly sharing. Every channel in the collective circuitry is inherently social. You get to the individual circuitry, only, you know, one channel is inherently social, 1222. You know, the integration channels, you know, themselves, technically, none of them are actually social. And the tribe is social in certain ways, like 34 and the 34, excuse me, 3740, as well as potentially the 4426. However, right, and technically the 2145, but that's not so much social. That's more like controlling. It's a deal. It's a bargain. So it's not just open to the thing. It's social with conditions. You know, you're going to do this. You're going to help me do this freaking thing, or we're not going to feed you, you know, type thing. And tribe makes those deals. So yeah, they don't like each other. And the thing is, the collective needs to share so desperately that when you have collective definition, you'll find you can't shut up. It's the spot you can't stop. I mean, not always, but it's just prone to being that thing. It's like a hunger. And the reason collective definition is a really easy way to see why I call it life force, why it's called life force, because you'll see it's like a look at the collective definition. I'll be like, geez, John, you're itching to say the thing, aren't you? There's a little life force in you, making you, chemistry coming up, burning those calories, about making you to spit it out, holding your place. That's a lot of action going on, right? How many calculations does it take to move my hand? You know, 2 million, right? That's a lot of action going on, life force, making that person want to share. And the sharing it's just profound. So when you get to the keynotes of the channels, you'll start to see why this sharing becomes logical and experiential. And we're not to take it personally. People share their stuff simply because they can. And go back to the 2-year-old, mommy, I pooped my panties. They want to share that they just, you know, so as an adult self, you might still want to share that, but it's no good. The other doesn't want to hear it. That's the thing. So that's why the sharing is so profound, because it feels personal at times. It's judgmental. It can be even a little bit bitchy and sort of resentful at times because it's trying to share. You know, it can be powerfully experiential, where it's like I got to experience this thing, and I want to share this experience with you, you know, or with others, and it doesn't matter who you are sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And to the tribe, that's personal. It's like, hey, it does matter who I am. And to the individual, it's wicked personal. It does matter who I am. Don't tell me I'm not who I am. So this circuitry, you can count on sharing being like, you saw how I just fleshed out the word sharing, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so it'll show up that way in all these different myriads of ways. But we need it because we do need a generalized set of rules for the whole thing.
Yeah.
We just don't need the collective's judgment on for sure. Well, everyone needs to get this one thing. No, a lot of tribes will come in and say, no, no, we don't. Not for my kids, we don't.
Mm.
And
Yeah, not for my individual desires. Yeah.
no, and the individual says, not me, just no, 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 because it's mutatively knows in the now. So yeah, it's obnoxiously sharing and gorgeously sharing all at the same time, and it needs to do that. And the trick is to know what tribal and what individual and then what collective definition do you have, you
Mhm.
know?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like circuitry, it's like a beautiful dance once you understand it. And it's like
Mhm.
the same thing with like your base human design. When you're looking at your design, when you start to understand like, oh, everything has its place. Like just in life, everything has its place. And if everything is in its place, things work better. And so you start first with your personal body graph, and then it moves out. Like as you understand that, now you understand another person's and this other person's, and now zooming out and understanding the level of circuitry. It's like the same thing. Each of the four circuits, they have their place. And when they're doing what they're doing correctly, it's like they all work. And it starts off with like the backbone of the integration circuit. And then the individual is, that skeleton. And the tribal is holding it all together. It's almost like the muscles holding everything together. And then like the collective is like the skin that's just like the outside. It's holding the mass
Absolutely.
of it together.
Yeah, and becoming the dermis in a way. Yeah, absolutely. And it's wicked important to read into things as it relates to reading for people. And it's really key to know when you're getting your own body graph read, why that circuitry will end up mattering. Not that on the first reading, I'm going to spend a lot of time describing all that. I'm going to just use the keynotes. And if you're an analyst looking into human design, or you've gone more than just a little bit in and now you're sort of in it, that becomes a profound way for you to understand deeper. If you've ever been confused of what's the gate mean, what's the line mean, as soon as you put it into a circuitry, that helps clarify what does it mean, along with other things. And that's the essence of layering these keynotes so we can read like poetry, for the other when they call it in. It's good. I can't think of anything else to say about circuitry except it's important. We need to cover this, and it carries the streams of awareness with it, by the way.
Oh,
So
we're getting
that's
to all of them.
yep.
Yeah, that was
Yep.
really fun. Thank you for, doing our little circuitry game. And like
Yeah, I think we did enough, right? When we get into the deeper parts of it, we're gonna do, yeah, good, good,
yeah,
good.
it's doing that like correct balance, because this is our intro to circuitry, right? This is your 101, just kind of going over the gates, channels, the basic idea of them, what is a circuit, and then explaining that overview of the four circuits. And then next week, we're going to start diving in deeper, and we're going to go specifically into the channels of the integration channel, and
Hmm.
then also the centering circuit we're going to go into. Next week. So that'll be really fun. And then we'll have our individual circuitry and then onto our collective. And we have lots more fun things planned for you guys. So yeah, thank you, Danny.
Oh, I
And
can't wait. This is gonna be great. And thank you, Moni, and thank you everyone for watching.
yeah,
Follow us on this journey, right?
yeah, thank you everyone who's watching live and on the replays. Thank you to everyone for liking and subscribing. It really, really helps. We're still like a little baby channel and we're still growing. So it really means a lot when you like, when you subscribe. Your comments make me so happy every time. And then I send them to the entire group chat
Mhm.
and we all just like squeal and get really excited. So thank you for watching and enjoying and giving us positive feedback. We're still finding our footing, but I think we've found like a really good rhythm and we have some really exciting shows planned for this year.
Mhm.
I'm excited to
Getting into
dive
the
in.
meat and potatoes, baby, the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much. And we will see you next week with our further deep dive into our circuitry series. And yeah, have a great day. And I'll see you guys later.
Absolutely. We'll see you next time.